Recording in progress.
You know, like, what's your name? And I said,
Well-
because he said, hi, Patty, hi,
And
and yelled at
we
me
just
way
wanted to make
across
sure
the
you took
yard. So, okay, good, well, thank you.
No, nothing, I'm traumatized.
Because that little girl, she said, she brought eggs over, and I pay her for them, but she just took eggs over to them. She said, we've got like, I don't know, like 6 dozen or 10 dozen in our refrigerator.
That's okay,
So
then
she
you
took
know I'm
some
putting
eggs
on
over
yours.
to her. She said, I'm afraid to go over there. Would you come with me? And I go, yeah, I'll come with you. So she went over, we just knocked on the door and gave it to the lady.
So I'll see if I can find out.
Yeah, and I know, because she said she went to Doyle and I had you as a substituting there.
So, okay,
Okay,
well, I'll
thank
see if
you,
I can
thank
find
you.
out.
Find out.
sign some of them for you.
Amen, thank you.
And thank you for at least telling me his name so I could yell. But I never see him. I saw them just when they were moving in, and then just now, I went over and knocked on the door with that little girl.
Yeah, oh, good. I've done my good deed. for
That's
the day.
right, that's right.
I got it too, I didn't see it here. It's for the office, so.
Oh, gosh, I remember him, he was bad. Yeah.
No, it's not work Monday and Friday. So I need to, apparently I need to bring a tree.
Yeah.
I was gonna die. Do you guys want an agenda?
I can't sign this one.
Nope, you can't.
Yeah, there's some up there.
And you can sign. them.
Oh, I see what you're doing now.
You
Okay,
don't have
Yeah.
to, it's not requirement.
so let's put,
We like you to.
Yeah.
so let's put that one right there. And,
What is more getting paid $600?
oh, I don't know.
All right, buddy.
Oh, I was gonna wear but my sweatshirt is old. I mean, it's a real.
I made this one.
You made it?
Yeah.
That's nice. Good, that's
I
good,
didn't
that's
know
good.
who to rob.
You've been selling them before long.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, very cool. That's really nice.
Yeah,
Actually, I bet it's warm.
it's actually really snuggly.
Very good. Could use snuggly.
Hmm?
I said I could use snuggly,
Right.
this kind of weather.
Snuggly is
It's not
good.
foggy.
Although it's better now, and I think up until Saturday, it's supposed to be like today, then I don't know what's gonna happen
I
after that.
don't care as long as it doesn't include fog.
Yeah.
Oh, that fog.
It can't include fog, they said, on the Reno News.
They said what, John?
They said the Reno News said starting tomorrow it could be fog.
Oh, yeah?
I'm excited.
And
Oh,
we thought we liked you up
Wednesday.
until now.
Thursday, I'm going to Pyramid Lake on Thursday. It's supposed to be only 0 to 3 miles an hour.
You'd be very good. We're not liking Pyramid Lake.
that's why I'm so far behind, because I don't drive anywhere.
But everybody's saying bad things about Pyramid Lake. Can you drive somewhere else? You fishing?
No, we're fishing.
Who's going with you?
Me and Bob. And my grandson Judah.
You tell Judah.
Huh?
You tell Judah. He called here. I'm sure it was a missed dial. But it said Judah Everett across. And then I said, hello, hello.
And then
Tell him
Wednesday,
next time to
he
say
started.
hello.
Did he say hello?
Thursday and Friday, he seemed.
He just hung up. Cause I said, I said, hello.
I probably should have done this, but
But I was hoping I'd get to visit with him for a
I
minute.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
that
he-
Eva was doing it.
He's good. His wife just went to work today out at the market again. That's where she left when they went into service 4 years ago and.
So he's out of the service now.
Yeah, he'll be a fishery out there. But he's got 4 years of, yeah, from Norwich. So he's stationed down at Beale Air Force Base right now. But I talked to a lieutenant colonel at one of the luncheons over in Doyle. And he said that he had a job. I told him what he does. He still has a job.
Well, it's more.
Good. You know, when Chase came down from North Dakota, when he transferred for his National Guard, he's right there in his family. And part of the time they meet instead So it's not,
Instead of ballot.
yeah, instead of ballot. Yeah, I use that on YouTube.
Well, Fallon would actually be closer than going to Marysville,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
a lot better roads.
Anything?
yeah, well, and if he could get the same, and he had the same, they could ride together. Oh, gosh, you have doing. They already got all right.
Yeah.
They're young man.
You can save your seat.
Here, let me know, sit right in front of you.
Doesn't matter, I know we saved your seat, I knew where you were gonna sit.
So he sat behind you intentionally.
Well, yeah, I was gonna sit there, and said, no. No, the engineer sits up there, he wants to hear what's going on.
In other words, you don't.
Actually, the hour.
He shouldn't open the door like that for me, you know better.
That's right, Beulah.
Start watching you.
He opened the door for sure.
He did, didn't he?
I don't know if it was movement.
No, I've got it just stop smoking, and so it's really trying to pick up what you're saying.
We might be in trouble. We might have over two of us.
If you start talking, it comes to you.
It does, but it helps him, even when he's not talking.
You have to.
Oh, we can't do it next to you.
You're photogenic.
I knew it.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't even think about that.
He really likes you.
But then. School.
Right.
What do you think? Oh, it is real fun.
John,
Will you send that one, Felix?
Yeah. And have different places.
you are?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Bone,
Robin?
yeah, for about 2.5 inches.
It's up to you, yeah.
It's been hurt, and they said there was.
If you wanna sit on the end, we can just move the stuff,
Okay.
so you have more room, if you get there.
Do you have it scheduled yet or anything? It was like-
No, they're, they want me to do it.
You wanna sit over here?
Somebody?
If you're not going on bone exercise, it's not gonna help.
Jen's gonna be my.
Give me a shot. And now it's- I don't know what happened to the surgeon said you're gonna stop, and I don't know what happened.
My guy starts on the 13th.
Sometimes.
Not always stated it.
Yeah, every day in
I don't want to.
February.
Sometime, well, that's still coming up. I mean, that's not too long, too far away.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much, man. We're gonna have one meeting Friday or something. See what they're gonna do. It's an evaluation.
Right.
I'm shaking today.
They put me up there.
How you doing? How you doing? Good.
I
do that.
What is one of my?
What kind of
business?
Something has been agent.
Mr. Felix?
Yeah,
Something like that.
right.
It's been coming on for a couple of
Yeah,
years.
they got.
You'll be done with
Was that doing exercises?
I left it in pain because of my neuropathy.
Really?
Mr. Flores? Barbara? I know, I didn't sign my app.
Your work's coming out, then you were going in.
Where's Jim? Jim's not coming?
He's not feeling good.
Going to the DA and it's 4 hours.
It's getting short.
Driving.
Yeah, weeks.
Somebody else or with me to drive in our land.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
30 seconds and counting, and we're going to start our meeting here in just
He was in Vietnam.
minutes, or a few seconds. I thought I'd say that because he's taking that dollar phone. to stand up.
That's terrible.
You know that? Rate it. All you do is go on
I really love.
after the physical,
Yeah.
to go through what they need to do.
His name, Patty Ryan, and I talked to her, and she,
Call our meeting to order, please. All rise for the purpose of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. Yeah, roll call. Mr. Harris,
Here.
Mr. Flores.
Here.
Ms. Reed. Here. Ms. Johnson. Here. Here, and one missing. Mr. Swisowitz. Approval of the agenda. Discussion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
It's been motioned that we approve the agenda by Mr. Flores and seconded by Mr. Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4 ayes, no noes, no abstentions, 1 absent. Public comment. I didn't get any thing from the public. Last call. Hearing none. We'll move forward. Okay. Number 6, review and possible action approving the minutes from November the 19th, regular board meeting. Discussion. No discussion. I will call for the vote. Oh, 1 abstention. I was not available. I was
Two
not here.
abstentions.
2 abstentions, exactly. So with 2 abstentions and only 2 board members. Why not do it here?
No, the other, resting because same person's gone next month. We'll still be in the same position next month, whether Swiss was here or not, because he will no longer be on the board.
Right.
So, I would say
It's not a voting action, that would not make a difference.
it's just approving of the minutes. But they weren't here, so I was gonna say just call for a vote and
Okay, I'll call for the vote then. Approval of the agenda. Yeah, have all ayes.
We did that one.
Okay. We have 2 abstentions
on the minutes.
on the
Do we have
minutes.
a motion to approve?
Yeah, we need a motion to approve
I approve the agenda as written.
The minutes.
the minutes.
I'm sorry, I approve the as written.
I need a second.
Second.
The minutes have been approved by Mr. Harris and seconded by Mr. Flores. There are 2 abstentions and 1 absent. For the record. Financials review and file November 2024 financials and check register. Discussion.
I have a question on financials. Going through again, wastewater, water, last meeting, we had 0 for Serco. You said that was a mistake. What was the mistake?
You're talking about the Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah, I think that's it, yeah. Is it, it's page, oh, here are the numbers.
Actually,
Quick look, I guess it's quick look at 2024 to date.
so I tried to make it more explanatory for you, because it's Serco fire tax and / county lighting tax. So that would be 0 in that area.
Okay,
That is, well, there is no county tax on wastewater. And you guys approved that quick look with that change last meeting.
I guess my question is like the community, you have, wastewater, $159,150.51. What does Serco pay?
That is Serco and West Pat Village. The community is everybody. They're not separated out. They never have been separated out.
So we don't treat them like the prison, where they have their own contract.
No, they don't have their own contract. They're a customer just like you.
So if I wanted to know what West Baton Village is spending and how much Circle is spending. If you got them combined, what's the percentage? We'll do it this way. What's the percentage of this number I just gave you to Circle pay?
You would have to take the rate times for wastewater, the rate times 146 for West Patton Village. And then you would have to, on the other side, you're actually talking about the school district, you're talking about SIAD, you're talking about Serco. And you'd have to split them out just like we have each one of their meter size.
So does the prison has a contract, right?
Yeah.
We have a contract with the base, I mean, the depot,
Yes,
okay? And then what about the trailer park?
there's no contract, they're regular resident, and they are also included in here.
So each individual home trailer is getting built.
No, that's up to that's up to them. We charge them, we meter the water. And they pay a debt service for putting it in, and then they pay per 1,000 gallons. Plus they pay the size of pipe that's to the mobile home park.
So they don't pay any facility charge at all.
That's what that is. The size of pipe is a facility charge.
That's what it is.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Just want to know.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Anyone out there? Oh. All right, so we're just reviewing and filing this as I see that on the agenda here, correct?
Need a motion to file it.
Okay.
Oh, I got one more thing. On the, dang it, Felix, the interest rate on our, what is it called? I just went blank. You know, that we get interest from one of, what is it? I think it's class,
Our savings.
money market, excuse me, money market. What, you don't put, the interest on it, where we're at right now?
It's in two separate places, so if you, the interest income is under each water is broke up between the water, wastewater, fire. And then if you look at so that it says interest, dividends and refunds, so that's the total interest, dividends and refunds for each fund under your quick look. And then when you look at your investment page, it tells exactly how much interest we've got from each, whether it's Cal Class or whether it's 5-star money market account.
I didn't see it. Okay. I didn't see it, so I'll go back and look at it. I'm good.
Good, okay. No further discussion, need a motion to approve?
I motion that we approve the financials as written.
Second,
It's been motioned by Mr. Harris that we approve and seconded by Mr. Flores, all in favor?
Aye.
4 ayes, no noes, no abstentions, 1 absent. Item number 8, fire department updates. Any discussions?
So there's, Mike has pretty much been answering the calls on his own, with backup from SIAD. There's no medical Tuesdays this month because of the holiday. And Mike, will probably do the lights at Doyle. He always do the parade. So Mike will be doing the parade with the Dodge.
Any discussion?
Saturday. 5:30. Thank you.
One thing that I've observed, that is that when there's a call, Mike is always there. He's always there, no matter what. It's just a matter of something to say on his behalf. Okay. No, number 9, moving on. Shaw Engineering update.
Everyone. Happy holidays.
Yes.
Going on to the-
Oh, gee, just go through.
Alrighty, so we are getting close to getting this thing out to bid and constructed. This past month, we've been working on the contract documents, which is essentially what the agreement will be between HPUD and the contractor that's selected in the bidding process. We're just waiting on a few final documents from the manufacturer that you guys selected earlier this year. Put together an engineer's estimate for the project, and I apologize, I didn't quite get it done in time for the board packet. Thanks there, guys, there's information. So again, these are just estimates of what the bid will come in at. On the low end. So on the low end, we're looking at approximately $518,175 on the high end. With a 20% contingency, looking at around 621,000. With these estimates, I always like to be a little bit conservative because it's better to have a number that comes in lower than these than higher. So again, just estimates that when the contractor is selected, we'll have a firm number for that. In terms of a schedule, I'll talk with Sandy a little bit more this week about when we want to put this thing out to bid, but anticipating advertising bids in the middle of January, which puts us at opening bids near the end of February, that's when we'll find out what the number will be, the actual firm number for what this thing costs to construct. As was discussed in the report I wrote earlier, procurement for the piece of equipment that we're installing is pretty long, between 19 and 24 weeks is what they estimated at. So with that and the labor timeline, we're estimating construction completion date of around November of 2025. So still a bit out, but that's the update. So that's all I have. You guys have any questions? I can answer. Sticking around, so.
Questions? Discussion, questions? Yes.
This piece of machinery is the one that we decided on having that's from said company. And we're still going out for bids. I thought we had committed to a specific company and that particular piece of machinery was going to be adjustable to the opportunity to cleanse our solid waste to make it functional for use of other places. Is this the same process that we're looking at?
So we selected the manufacturer, and so we still need to find somebody to install and wire up the equipment. So that's what this is. So the contractor will go and they'll purchase the equipment.
So the machinery is the same machinery. We're just having to find somebody to screw the nuts and bolts together.
That's right. Right.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing no further discussion. Thank you very much for that update. All right, moving on. Item number 10, budget review and possible action approving the 2025 budget with a COLA and fire tax increase. A review from budget workshop.
So this is the third opportunity we've had with this budget for 2025. This budget doesn't include any of the rate study and one thing that we should have really tried to do or would have liked to accomplish last month was the fire tax decision. Usually in October, November, this board makes a decision on whether we're keeping fire tax the same or whether we are increasing it. Part of that budget and all the information I'd given you folks a couple months back on the very last page of your budget shows we have a choice to do a 0 increase, a 1, 2, or 3% increase. And the last page shows that to keep it current, it's 132.56. If we do a 1% increase, it's $133.89. A 2% is $135.21, and a 3% increase is $136.54. And staff would appreciate if we could vote or on one of those four options tonight so that we can get our fire tax out, because usually we get those out the 1st of December, and we're already mid-December. And we've got billing too this week and the holidays next week. So I would ask that the board would approve either keeping the fire tax the same or doing a 1, 2, or 3% increase on that. And then below it, I showed the approximate, if we increase it by 1%, which is like $1.40, it's only $651 annually. 2% is $1,300. I'm rounding numbers, and 3% is $1,950 annually. So it's not a lot more increase to income per se. But each year we haven't done any increase since we took over from West Patton Village in 2017. And we can't go back and retro it for 6 years or 7 years, but each year you can decide to either keep it the same or do a 1, 2, or 3% increase. That would be the first item I would like to check off the list to get out of the way on the budget, and so the staff can move forward with the fire tax. Just send out.
Any discussion?
Does the fire department budget include like us applying for new equipment, buy off of BLM, Caltrans, whoever? Do we have to hire a grant writer or?
In the last 4 years, I've done all those grants. We did hire a grant writer that I assisted for the FEMA truck, but the 5 grants that we've gotten, I've written 4 out of 5.
When's the last time we put in for a new fire truck, residential fire truck?
A structure truck?
Yeah.
We have not,
Would that is,
because of the age of the old brush truck. It was, what was it, a 72, and the age on this structure truck is an 84. So it was newer than the brush truck that we had. So we applied for a replacement of the old brush truck.
is the fire truck we have now, is it certified to fire, to use it in a residential
Yes,
fire?
yes,
All the pumps, bearings, all that stuff that we got fixed are still in good order?
yes.
Do you suggest we should try to get in for a newer truck?
For the structure truck?
Yes, modern up here?
Right now, the gentleman that did our thing, I think we've got to have them in, I want to say it's like by January 31st or something. So it would be a quick turnaround. Wasn't something that was on my radar right now to do a FEMA, and it is if you would like, we can look into that.
I would. If we're gonna raise the taxes, whatever percentage, I would like to see a modern truck. Maybe that will entice the community to start volunteering, like we're gonna have a big push next year by Jim. We got
Right.
training, we got a lot of things coming up.
But that's why we got the brush truck replaced, that was the thought when sat down with that FEMA grant 4 years ago, and I got the truck, because that truck is a 22, so it's only 2 years old. We've only had it for a year and a half. So, and we really need more operators before we need a new truck, because we would need, the structure truck needs a minimum of 3 people, where the brush truck, we need a minimum of 2.
Yep, I think if we're gonna do this, and it's not gonna cost us anything to put in a grant, ask for a grant to get a new truck, it's just paperwork, let's put it in, see what's up. Maybe we'll look out. Do you guys agree?
Well, the other grants we were looking at was trying to get grants in for the wastewater plant. And so we could do that, so. And we've got year end, so there's quite a few items that we can look into.
Okay, do I have to make a motion to go ahead and proceed with at least putting in grants, or you're just gonna say, yeah, I'll put it in?
I mean, you guys, if that's what you guys want me to start looking into for more, I can start doing that.
Do you wanna take a vote, or do you just wanna ask? How do you want it done?
It's not a voting
Okay,
deal.
well, I'll start, you're, what do you think?
Do you want to add direction?
I'm wishy-washy on it because
Well, I look,
I'm
it's
trying
just
to, I'm trying
paperwork.
to prioritize in our head what we need first, what we need most, I shouldn't say first. If we're already moving along with what we've got versus something that is of higher priority as far as her putting in her efforts and time, I'm thinking that she should probably try to take care of something that we need more than what we want. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Scare myself sometimes.
Aaron, you're up.
Need a grant for the sprue,
Yeah,
Well,
$600,000.
The screw press.
yeah, that thought, it just,
Yes, that's it.
it's, when I read through this, I was like, oh my God, yeah.
I think that we need more volunteers. And I don't think that a new piece of equipment is gonna get us more volunteers yet.
No,
It's your house.
What's the holdup on the volunteers?
Volunteers.
Huh?
Volunteers.
Yeah.
There's
They're-
nobody
they're- I mean-
volunteering.
Yeah, we don't have a motivation spray that can go out over the community.
that's
So,
good.
well,
That's good.
So the item on the deal is, we're talking about the budget and the items that make up the budget. So going back to the fire tax increase, either a 0, 1, 2, or 3%. And then going forward on the budget, I have not, the budget, the way it's laid out, does not have that increase in it. Like I said, that would bring in a little bit of income. It's not a lot of income, so. I'm good whatever direction the board wants, just so that we can start getting those fire tax bills out.
What's your recommendation based on what you just said? I know, I know. Who's a-
Well,
So
I
she's,
didn't like the idea that we did, that West Patton Village did 3% every year, because that really brought it up in 15 years. But we've sat idle for 7 years, almost 8 years. Honestly, I don't think the $1.40 people are probably even gonna notice. I mean, I'm gonna notice because I know it's 132.56, so it's not gonna roll off my tongue as fast as the 133.89, but most people aren't gonna notice the $1.40. So each year that we don't increase, we go further behind in revenue. So even if we did a little 1% increase, like I said, it's $1.40 a home or a piece of property that has improved property on it, and it's only 60 cents for vacant land. So I don't think, honestly, people will notice 60 cents or $1.40 annually. But it helps keep our revenues starting to go up. I mean, it increases $6.50, could be a little more depending on, that was just a good approximate profit, but, I mean, $6.50 is $6.50. I mean, that's, piece of equipment or fuel for the year or whatever for the district.
and you said we haven't done this in 2017, since 2017.
Yeah, since we took
About
over
8 years,
the
7
fire
years?
department, from West Patton Village.
So, glad up there,
Sage buds never went up.
3%. I say go 3%. We haven't done it to 17. You know,
How many?
like you said, for gas and whatever else. Hopefully they're gonna need, we'll be prepared for it. That's my opinion.
You have a motion for 3%. Have anybody this seconds it?
I'll second that. Having said that, Mr. Floyd's first First, Mr. Flores made the motion to increase by 3%. Hugh Johnson seconded that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We have 4 ayes, no noes, no abstentions, and 1 person absent for 3% increase.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
We'll work on that tomorrow. Going forward on the budget, again, like I said, this is the third time, 2 meetings plus, our budget review special meeting that we had on the budget. This budget includes 3% COLA, and the improvements that we had set aside originally was showing each one of the funds. So the improvements that we were looking at for capital projects is the screw press that Owen's been working with. The possibility of the water, the elevated tank getting recoated, and then staff and myself have been trying for about 3 years to get somebody to come out and chip and seal, because we need to chip and seal this parking lot and the booster pump station. And then, yeah, so that, those are the 3 projects, the capital projects that are included in this budget.
So I motion to increase the COLA for 2025 to 3.04%.
What are we talking about? The company's COLAs? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the employees' COLA.
Well, every year we usually go what the DEPA goes to. That's 2.4.
Okay, that's not what I motioned though.
And Social Security this year just put out as 2.5. I'm sure you all got your little flyers open.
There's a motion on the floor for, what was that, 3.04?
3.04.
Need a second?
I say.
Ms. Harris, motion for the 3.04 increase in COLA, and Ms. Reed, I should say. Motioned, and Mr. Harris seconded. All in favor? Say aye. All noes?
No,
Okay. We have 3 ayes, 1 no, no abstentions, and 1 person absent.
Thank you, board. The next item would be to approve 2025 budget. There's no other questions.
Oh, do we need to though vote on when the COLA starts? Because you were saying the COLA normally starts in May. Should we vote to have the COLA start in January?
That would be wonderful.
Okay, I motion that the COLA starts for 2025 in January.
but we already gave them COLA for half this year, 5 months of this year already.
Yeah, but
You have 5 more months, because we do ours in May, and now we're gonna do it in January, right?
And 2 years ago, the board talked about bringing it back to January, so we were the same with the depot. So basically, the staff has been missing out on the first 5 months of the year being that further behind. All COLAs are based on the previous year. So when we got a COLA last year, we were already behind, and then we were 5 months more behind. So yes, it would mean that staff would get a COLA raise 7 months out instead of 12 months out. But if we started this every year, when we're having the budget, we're already budgeting the COLA into it. So we
I got it.
might as well go ahead and start the COLA in January and move forward from here on out. And with that, with Aaron's motion, and if that's accepted by this board, probably bring back to the board the policy so that it says exactly that when they approve the budget, that the board would, that we would start the COLAs in January instead of re-looking at them in May. So we wouldn't look at them at all next year because they were already, I would look at them at the end of next year for 2026 budget.
We have a motion on the floor to start this in January of 2025. I need a second.
Second.
Yeah.
Mr. Flores seconded the motion.
Thank you.
All in favor?
It's fair.
Aye.
With 4 ayes, no noes, no abstentions, and 1 person absent to start the COLA in January of 2025.
Thank you, board. And the last one that we need to go over is if there's any changes to the budget for 2025. Or approving the budget till we start in 2025 with that budget, and then we can make changes as needed.
Well, I went to the budget meeting. I agree. The only thing that's been added since the budget meeting is the parking lot, which makes sense. Oh, I don't,
really didn't bring it up.
okay. So I motion to approve the budget as it's written.
Any discussion on that?
Excuse me.
Any discussion? Before the,
I don't.
no? Hearing none. I need a second on that motion.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Reed, made the motion and Mr. Harris seconded the motion. As stated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With 4 ayes, no noes, no abstention, and 1 person absent.
Thank you, board.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
We are on number
Great
11
study.
in our time study, and Anthony is online with us.
Okay, great study presentation. Timetable 16.
The bulk of your board packet.
No joke. That was overwhelming.
Yes.
Good documentation.
Thank you all. Can you hear me on your side there?
Yeah, actually, we got you really loud.
Great. I am we're going to share a presentation that's going to go through the brief of the rate study report that you have in front of you. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to review it yet. If there are any questions at any time, I saw from the agenda that this is an informational item. So please ask any questions that you have as we go through the various steps of the rate study process and the results, and I'll be happy to answer anything that comes up. So can you see the screen now that shows the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Great. So briefly, we're going to look at the inputs that were used, and these inputs came from published documents, budgets, audited financial statements, and other documents that the district has provided us to perform this study. Then we're going to look at the state of the financial and the long-term financial plan, and we're going to show the utility rates for both the water and the sewer utility at this time. Our recommendations of those based on Proposition 218. So the main objectives of the study, beyond just paying for your daily operations through the next 5 years, is to have the district in a good financial position by reaching your target reserve levels, as well as maintaining your debt service coverage ratios. And so we look at the documents that were published by the district. We have a extensive reserve policy. There's 5 different reserve funds. And the slide here shows the target balance for 2025. In each of these reserve funds, it shows what the target, what the name of it is. So your debt reserve is for the water and the sewer utility is equal to 1 year of debt payments. Your working capital reserve is based on 50 years of your annual or 50% of your annual operating expense. Your emergency reserve target is based on 5% of your annual revenues. Your repair and replacement reserve is based on approximately 50% of your annual depreciation, and that's stated in your audited financial statements. That's depreciation is the the slow kind of movement of time through your capital assets as they slowly get older and older. And then your capital investment reserve is 25% of your total depreciation. So the left column shows the reserve target for your water utility, the total of all of those reserves, which is 1.8 million approximately. And for the sewer utility, which is approximately 1.6 million. The table on the top shows the current balances at the beginning of this fiscal year, or I mean this calendar year, and they are below your current reserve targets. So one of the things we want to do is add to those reserves and get closer to those target reserve levels by the end of the study. Second, we have debt service, annual payments for long-term debt that the district has taken out. We want to make sure that we're able to cover what's called a debt service coverage ratio on those. And that means your revenues have to be a certain percentage above your expenses, your operating expenses in each year. And that maintains your debt, your ability to get more debt and your credit rating. The higher you are above that debt service coverage ratio, along with your reserves, the better debt coverage, debt rating you have, and your ability to get more debt at lower rates is improved. So those are the main targets that we're trying to reach. So we're going to go through sort of the financials for the water utility. Currently, you have a level of customers and a billing class for each of those customers. So the commercial rates are based on the meter size of the commercial customer. They range between 3-inch or 2-inch and 6-inch. The column on the left shows the actual rate per month for each of those customers. And then the column on the far right shows the what's called a debt payment, and that's directly to pay for the annual debt service for the customers that incurred that debt. And also beyond having this monthly fixed charge for each customer, there's a usage rate, which is every 1,000 gallons of water that a customer uses, they pay $2 for that water use. So in combination, these two items make up a customer's water bill. So for example, if you have a residential customer with a 3/4-inch meter that's not in the WPV service area, they would pay $20. And if they use 5,000 gallons, that would be another $10. So they would pay a total monthly bill of $30. And you can kind of do those calculations in your head based on, or actually, I'm sorry, and some of those customers would also pay the debt payment. So their total bill for the month would be $66.08. So from that revenue projection, based on the number of customers, their billing category, and the number of bills in a year, which is 12, we are able to determine the total revenues that the district is going to collect. The top line there shows the total revenues. Water rate revenue is made up of those customers that we don't consider the prison. The prison customers we include in the other operating revenue because we are not looking to change their rates at the time because they have a contract with the district that has a 3% increase per year already built into their contract. So we consider those other operating revenues for this analysis. Non-operating revenues would include items such as interest that you're collecting from your money market accounts, and that's an annual. The operating expenses line are based on, in calendar year 2024, your budget from that year. And then we look at the individual line items for the budget and apply inflationary adjustments based on the type of expense it is. And you can see that those annual expenses for the water utility increase approximately 3.5% per year for each year is our projection based on the current inflation. So just for your operating, you currently do have annual income, so you'll be contributing to your reserves in this case if you did not have any other expenses such as debt service or capital expenditures. However, we know that the water utility does have both needs as well as debt service expense. For the purpose of this study, The financial plan we developed included about 10,000 a year in capital expenditures between 2025 and 2029, which is the study period for the rates. So looking at the total financial plan, this shows the operating revenue, and we call that the current revenue. That's the red line. The bars show the total expenditures. So the orange part of the bar is your annual operating. The yellow part of the bar is the debt service payments for each year. And then the green in this category shows the projected capital expenditures. You can see that with that total expenditure, the red line is below the total revenues that are being collected each year. Thus, you will, instead of contribute to the reserves, you will draw down the reserves annually over the next 10 years if you do nothing to the rates at this time or in the near future. Generally speaking, you will also stay below your debt service coverage ratio requirement, which means that the district will be in technical default in that case, and that will have a negative impact on the district's credit rating. So we are recommending a series of revenue adjustments, and these aren't the same as rate adjustments because the rates have to be based on individual cost of service for the different customers. So under the rate plan, different customers may see a different impact than this 10%. That has to do with the type of customer they are as well as the amount of water they use, because each of those categories will go slightly higher. So we are recommending, and this is in the report, revenue adjustments of 10% for the first 3 years, followed by 9%, followed by 8%. And you can see the green line on this graph, which shows the adjusted revenues versus the current revenues. And for the first few years, you will be spending some of those reserves, but you will be again contributing to your reserves over the last part of that study period. And so based on that financial plan, this will maintain your debt service coverage ratio as well as you will reach that reserve target by the end of 10 years, even with no further adjustments beyond this 5-year pattern. And that's shown in the graphs here. So that's the water side of it up to the financial plan. Were there any questions on that part of it, or should I just continue to go? All right. So we did change the rates. There were a series of rates that we didn't feel were necessarily Proposition 218 compliant. What Proposition 218 does is it means that each customer has to pay their fair share for the service that they receive. So we couldn't find any service differences between customers within the WPV and the current residential customers. The cost to provide each of those customers was actually the same as far as the expenses were concerned that are outlined in the budget. So instead, we grouped all customers based on their meter size, and the proposed rates for each of the next 5 years is shown in the bottom table here. So for all customers with a 3/4 inch meter in 2025, if you adopt this rate adjustment, will be $30.98. And that will increase based on flow ratios, and we call them meter ratios because it's the maximum capacity that can be pumped through each different type of meter size. And it's determined under Proposition 218 that this is an equitable way to distribute costs between the different meter sizes. And that will increase each year of the 5 years based on the revenue adjustments that are outlined above after the first year. For the use rates, we also recommend increasing those. So the current $2 per 1,000 gallons will go to $2.38 for all water use, and that will increase each year as well based on those revenue adjustments. In addition to the base service rates, there are those customers that are paying what we call the debt service charge each month. The debt service charge is designed to collect all of the revenues that are needed to pay that annual debt payment. So this is divided by the number of equivalent meters and then applied to each meter size based on their share of the equivalent meters. And this should collect enough each year to maintain your debt payments fully. And finally, the WPV customers benefited from a very large grant to update their infrastructure. And they are not currently making debt payments on that. So in order to spread those costs with current and future customers, we recommend applying what we call an infrastructure reserve fund. This fund will be paid monthly by WPV customers, and this will go into a special reserve, and that money will be used specifically to repair that infrastructure that is damaged or needs repair through the time that this funding scenario works. This can be evaluated after the 5 years to see if they're collecting enough or if they need to collect more for additional repairs that are needed to their system. That's it for the water side. So we have the same graphs basically for the sewer. I don't know if we want to stop if anyone has any questions for about the water.
So I wanted to clarify, and Director Reed has a question too. So what we're looking at basically is it would actually be for West Patton Village a decrease, because if you add the 3098 and the 4211 is 7309 starting in 2025, going up each year by the percent would be up to 8624, and be taking from Serco, and the rest of them would be, right now they're paying 20, they'd pay the 3098, and Serco would pay their debt service, which they have been paying anyways for each one of the residents. So it's, the water side is more palatable than the wastewater. But it would actually mean that West Patton Village, when they started in 2025, would go down about $10.
Okay.
And then Serco customers would actually go, the individual customer would go up $10, and Serco would still be paying the debt service that they on,
Okay.
like they always do. So like I said, the water side is pretty palatable with the findings that Anthony's put together and all the hard work that him and his staff has done on this project. But, and as Mr. Flores had suggested in the past, was we're trying to have the infrastructure reserve fee, so I'd leave it at the 4211 that would go in for West Patton Village. Infrastructure reserve fee, and then the residential on Serco and Syad and the rest of the group for the USDA loans. And basically that gets paid every month. So that's, or not every month, that gets paid annually in to cover those payments. We pay in for our debt service on USDA. So that's 4211. So it's keeping, like Anthony suggested, it's keeping everybody the same, but we're doing, keeping everybody the same, so it's a lot more palatable for the community. And there's, because like you said, there's no difference from you getting water or you getting water or you getting water or us getting water here. I mean, it's the same cost, but unfortunately those costs are going up annually between electric and fuel and wages and cost of doing business, period. So hopefully that explains. If you guys look at the page 5 of your rate study, that's where I kind of highlighted. That tells you the proposed rates for 25 through 29 on the water side. And I highlighted the 3/4 inch and then the residential debt service and the West Patton Village Infrastructure Reserve Fund. So if you add those two together, and then with this rate study, they're suggesting that this community suggests should have a $2 per gallon per $1,000 or per 1,000 gallons, excuse me, would be at $2.38, and then going up to $3.39 within a 5-year period of time on that. I don't know. Director Reed, did you have?
No, that answered my question. I wanted to know if that 4211 is what they would be paying.
So no, so West Patton Village right now is paying, I think, 8406. And so this actually would start out less. It would be 7309 the first year, ending up at 5 years at 8624 with the combination of the reserve fund and the water.
Okay,
John,
Yeah, how much is it after 5 years?
86.24,
Right now.
so it would go up.
$6 in 5 years. You get a $10 decrease the first year and then
Yeah. Excellent, excellent, very good, I like that. It's a lot of money for these guys.
oh, that's, like I said, this one's a lot more palatable.
Yeah.
okay.
So I guess,
So,
are you ready for the bad news?
Yeah.
thank you, Anthony.
Sure. So we did do the same analysis for the sewer utility, and the sewer utility actually was needed a lot more long-term revenue adjustments. It is lower currently on its reserve and farther away from its reserve target. We tried to balance the need for additional revenue with the impact on the customers. So I'm going to go through all the basically the same slides. I'll try to go a little faster since we already heard kind of the same spiel. But the difference between the way that sewer customers are billed and water customers are billed, sewer customers are not billed based on their meter size. They're based on a unit that's called a single family equivalent. So they take the amount of sewer generated by one single family customer and apply a ratio of that to customers who would generate more sewer. So for example, you can see one of the commercial customers has an equivalent of 8 residential customers in this case. So they pay 8 times basically one normal residential customers. And that would be the amount of sewer flow, perhaps a difference in sewer strength. Currently, customers have slightly different amount they're paying for their single family equivalents, which again, we're going to recommend that we equalize these, and that's the far right column. Number of single family equivalents, rate, so that everybody's paying the same amount for their sewer per unit of sewer that they use. Again, same exercise, we projected the annual revenues. Most of the revenue for the sewer utility is made up by the Correctional Institute. Very little of it is actually based on sewer revenue for customers. So in order to move the needle on the needed revenue, more of an impact has to happen on residential customers. So this projects the revenues as well as the annual operating expenses, which again are projected to increase about 3.5% per year because of the type of expenses. However, you can see that the margins between the revenues and the expenses are much slimmer. And actually, in 10 years, you'll actually be collecting less than is needed to pay for your operating expenses. On top of that, again, is the capital expenditures, and we did the same projection of approximately 100,000 a year in capital expenditures, and also the debt service payments that need to be paid. So we go through the same basic set of graphs. The red line shows that every single year of the study, without doing anything, the sewer utility will be below the total expenses and getting closer and closer to not even being able to pay the operating expenses. That will result in a drawing down of the reserves each year, and going into a negative balance by 2026 if nothing is done to the revenues. Additionally, the debt service coverage ratio is quite a bit lower than is necessary to maintain a good credit rating. So we do recommend a pretty significant adjustment in the first year of 33%. And again, it doesn't look like that revenue adjusted goes up very high. That's because a lot of the actual revenue collected is from a contract that can't be altered at this time and is not part of the rate study. If you're able to reevaluate the actual expenses, you may be able to look at those Correctional Institute expenses and manage some of these increases for other customers. However, to get additional revenue at this time and go into positive balances or closer to positive balances, you need quite large revenue adjustments for your regular customers based on our projection. So we do not reach our reserve target in the 10-year plan. However, we don't go into a negative balance. And we do reach our debt service coverage requirement with this adjustment. And we did have larger adjustments at the beginning of this process. But again, to mitigate some of the impacts on customers, we wanted to reduce those so that the hit wasn't as big, basically. Um, so in the case of the sewer rates, um, again, currently customers pay based on the equivalent number of single-family units that are included in their bill. We do not recommend changing that. That's an equitable way to distribute costs. However, we do recommend maintaining the same single family equivalent rate for each type of customer. So all commercial customers and all residential customers will pay 64.34 in the first year times the number of units that are included in their single family equivalent measure. So we had one that was 8. We would say 8 times 64.34 would be that customer's bill. Whereas currently residential and residential WPV, 28.37 and 65.62 respectively, would each pay one SFE, one equivalent residential unit of 64.34. So that does have a pretty significant impact on the non-WPV residential customers. And I think that we maybe want to discuss the rates for this one. Sandy, I don't know if you want to get to the heart of it again, what we're looking at a little bit better, or are there any questions about the process or the results?
So again, I'd ask the board to go to page 6, as it has your, at the very bottom, proposed revenue adjustments for your sewer rates, which actually starts out lower than right now. West Patton Village is paying 65.62, and it starts out at 64.34, so it's about $1 something cheaper, but within a 5-year period of time going up at 10%. Leaves you in 2029 at 94.20. And then that's taking Circo and all the commercial rates, like you say, and each one is an SFE. So depending on the school district, on how many SFEs they have, how many the depot has, how many the mobile home has, it would go up by that 64.34 times how many equivalency SFEs they have. The one thing that, tonight, I think Anthony's done an excellent job, even though it's not all good news, on putting together our data. But I would ask that maybe in the first quarter of 2025, that we even look at some of our reserve policies, because we had like a 25% depreciation, which means that we're looking at having more money in our savings than we've had in a while, and just looking more at what our actual expenses are, which I think Anthony did a good job of showing you guys through these graphs what our actual expenses are. But just trying to get something, because again, everybody should be in similar situations or similar costs, but the big jump is going to be to the school district, to Circo, to SIAD, because they've been, West Patton Village seen the big jump last year with all the new infrastructure, and these guys will be following up with the same dollar amount. So they're paying 28.37, and they're gonna jump like 3 times, they're gonna go to 64.34. So.
And has Circle heard about this yet, or Sherry know anything about this yet?
They know that we have a rate study going out.
Okay. Because I know that we don't pay the wastewater right now, so I'm wondering if that's gonna change. That's why I was asking. Yeah.
Well, and she's trying to balance how cost effective it's gonna be and try to make it still affordable for people to live. I mean, right now, we've been pretty much Circo's been one of the most reasonable places to live in Lawson County and even in Washoe County. So we have people that work on depot or whatever out here.
Well, we even have people in Serco who work in Reno.
Yeah.
What about, the people that aren't on your sewer system? Are they gonna be charged, are we gonna be charged too?
No, you have to be connected to the sewer,
Okay.
get charged for the sewer.
So this part wouldn't affect the people that are not on the system,
Not Hillcrest and Mountain View.
okay?
Sammy, I have a question. On the trailer park, you have a set fee, but you're gonna raise it to each individual.
Well, it'll be the SFEs, so whatever we're charging, I'd have to get into my spreadsheet, whatever we're charging, right now for their wastewater, it would be depending, it would be that times so right now they're paying for a ballpark, say 10 times 2837. Now they'd be paying 10 times 6434. So it would change a lot for the mobile home owner, and then he would again probably pass it on to his customers because he bills them directly.
Sandy, he's building a lot of, modulars, okay? Does he notify every time he puts the family in a new home?
2/3 of that park is on our system. 1/3 of that park is not on our system, and he is paying for each one of the connections, even though there's nobody in. There's been several years that there's been a few of that there's nobody in, and he's still paying for those connections. Do you have any other questions for Anthony, or,
No,
I mean, this is a pretty detailed, I think it'll put
Yes.
HPUD in a really good
Yeah.
position
We know where we're
to move forward in the
Good
future.
job,
it is very good.
because they did a good job.
I mean, it's all there now, black and white. We can see our future. I like
Yeah,
that.
can I get a copy of that?
Yeah, it's
For
probably.
$10.
Don't get you take credit cards?
No, I think it's 35 cents a page, but we could double side it for you like we did in here. And it's 20 times 35 cents or whatever that is.
All I want is the draft, one that tells me it's going from here to there. One page, that's all I
Okay.
need to
But
know.
it's not official, so.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
wait till it's voted in.
Anything you want to add on that, Anthony?
No. If we want to explore any other potential scenarios, if you are able to reduce the amount of target for reserves, for example, we can include that into future analysis. This is a draft report, so once I get the direction from Sandy to move forward in a specific direction, I will finalize the report, and that will be the document you can use for when you start working on your Proposition 218 process. I don't know if you've gone through that before, but Proposition 218, you have to notice your customers 45 days before a hearing. And the hearing requires them to mail in a protest letter before the end of the hearing. And you have to have more than half of your customers send in a mail protest in order for the rates to not be able to be adopted. And that's pretty much the end of that process if you want to adopt those rates in the future.
In 2018, when we did the rates that the Patton Village is all having, we did go through Prop 218. And we went through Prop 218 in like 09. So just need to brush up and be able to do that. So this, if you guys want to receive and file his draft copy, if you don't have any other questions, or if you have any questions, this is a great time to ask them.
A motion to receive and file?
Second.
Have a motion to receive and file by Ms. Reed and the second from Mr. Harris. Any more discussion? If hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
With 4 ayes, no abstentions, and 1 absent.
Thank you, everyone. Sandy, reach out to me if you have any questions or something comes up after the meeting.
Perfect. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a good one.
You do the same.
Thank you very much, sir.
So what I put in you guys' board packet, we went through reserves, policy like 3 years ago, and it was pretty stringent. And one of the items in there says that we need to have 25% of our depreciation. Well, the water side is a like $19 million assets, and the sewer side is a $17 million asset. And if you times that by 25%, depreciating all of it out, that's about $4 million an asset that our reserve policy is saying that we need to have in the future. The conversation that we've had, and Felix, you can remember, we have too much money in our account, anytime the state can take it. Hence why we have the investment, my investment spreadsheet that I put in with each one of you guys' finances each month. Because it shows where our money's going, so the state can't just swipe it, because we do have a place for for all of our dollars. I think if we brought the reserves down, it may help. I will say the wastewater side is correct. We do need to have more money in there right now, because the fact that we need a new digester. We need a digester. We need a second clarifier. We're working on the screw press. Owen has mentioned a couple others. I started looking at different grants, and Owen was nice enough to supply me with about 6 other options. So looking at options in 2025 to hopefully get grants and not need that huge reserve to add on or replace would be grateful, and the community wouldn't have to worry about paying for that. So that would be a scenario that we might run by Anthony is, hey, instead of having a 25% reserves of our assets, maybe we go back to how either California Special Districts Reserve Policy, which is a little vague, but it doesn't have that 25. It doesn't say you have to have mandatory 25% like we have in ours. Just different things that might be able to bring down that wastewater side just a little bit. But it is the side, you know, I'm teetering because I know that's the side that needs the most improvements. So yes, would I like to see that income? Would I like to have all that so that if we needed to have it, we could? Yes, I would, but I know our community can't afford that. And like he said, the first one he gave me. Oh, yeah. 25% increase every year on both sides, both funds. And I know that our community can't do that. We are a fixed income area, plus the fact that we are a rural disadvantaged community. So, you know, gives us the ups on the grants, but it makes it really tough for our community members to pay those dollars. I will tell you though, looking at other people's rates, even looking at now where he's got it down to 64 up to $90 for the sewer in 5 years. Hate to say it, that's cheaper than a lot of places. I mean, even Loyalton's gone way up. Sutter Creek starts out as $120 a month just for their sewer. So it is in the realm of what is going on in this world, but is still really tough to handle for our community. So, and yeah, I'm emotional about it because I know our community, and it really, 20 years in this, working in this community, I
Don't want to see it be a ghost town.
well, a ghost town, or, it's hard because it's the cost of doing business, and it does cost, but, Owen and I are looking at other options to get the wastewater infrastructure done, and hopefully, but you all know, you've been on the board long enough too, that none of these projects, I mean, the last project took 5 years to get together. The first project, Felix, when we started with the USDA, was 7 years.
So,
The very first project, I think the fastest one we did was with the depot when we got to do our own RFP and answer our own RFP for the $6.8 million because the depot already had the money set aside for our community. But it took Felix, it took myself, it took Pat, it took Felix and Pat several trips to DC. I only went on one of the trips to DC to lobby to make sure that we could actually do that. So, you know, we've been blessed to have funds because we do have the depot, so we have the prison, we have, a good income. So we can afford to do some things, just like West Patton Village, what you guys don't understand. From 16 to now, you know, or 16 till in that project, so we're talking 7 years of trying to get that SRF going. We paid out for engineering and we paid out for plans and, you know, this district paid almost $400,000 before we ever got to the project. And then we got to the project and they said, oh, you paid those so long ago, they don't count anymore. So we didn't get reimbursed for some of that money that we first started back in 16 and 17 on that project because it was so far out. But like I said, we're lucky we've got the prison as our SETI. And that we have an income that when we need something like this to get grant money, we can do it. So,
so you're not gonna you're gonna try to reduce this number down. But you did mention we gotta upgrade the sewer part, modern up.
well, it's the only thing, Felix, like I said, we've done a lot of updates on the water side. The recoding of the elevated tank really is one of the last things that need to be done. I mean, we can do some upgrades on the booster pump. But really until we get more houses in development, we don't need to do that and the developers would pay for some of that.
Right.
The wastewater, we have not touched in 20 years.
That's scary.
You know, and when I took over as GM almost 5 years ago, I walked out there and I looked at the darn clarifier and it looked like an old ship. It was rusting away. And we tried to look at, you know, we cleaned it down and Royce and I and staff, I mean, we drained it. We scrubbed all the stuff out. We were in our galoshes and, you know, everything, all of it's good. It just needs to be recoated and redone. But the problem is, if you take that out of service, you're spending 100 to 200,000 for a temporary system to run our plant for the months that it's going to take to get this one back into service. So we're better off to just build for that same cost. We can build a new clarifier and then worry about refurbishing the old one as time goes on. And the digester is something we've never had that more and more we need to have out there would give us less. We would not be wasting as much. We wouldn't have so many loads to Lockwood landfill, which cost us again, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. So it's a process and it's just something that we need to look at. And like I said, you know, the other thing that I realize is DS Hall is still old Sierra Army depot lines. We need to replace that. So I would really like to be able to put together, you know, working with Owen to get that stuff done and hopefully grant money so the community doesn't have to pay it.
Well, with your suggestion that you said you worry about the state possibly going into one of our funds. Okay. So your idea is very good. Why can't we, to reduce down that number, start these projects you just mentioned? And any other projects to get that point where you're feeling comfortable, where the state can't come in and get our money because we had to do it to service the community with modern equipment, updated equipment.
Well,
That's what if you're gonna do it, that's the way I'd like to see it done. Let's modern up the whole wastewater sewer project. Let's just start moderning up. That's the first thing should be in our priority. So then the state can't get our money.
so the screw press, paying for it will bring us down. And I don't think we need to worry about state coming after us. For any more money. So, you know,
I say,
but we don't have enough to to spend, $2.5 million. We only have like $2.2 million in the bank, and most of it's water fund. We're gonna be pretty much spending all of our wastewater reserves for the screw press. So, I mean, at the end of 2025, we may have a couple 100,000 in reserves for wastewater, and that's it. So, but we'll still have 1.5 million on the water side. And the reason that we have so much still on the water side is again, from the DOD, that $6.8 million that we worked so hard on. The depot paid for all the connections for West Patton Village, so, pretty, the whole line back, the second line here never had to pay $5,200 per connection. Because the depot paid, and that's the money that's in our savings. So I said the depot paid, that was part of the $6.8 million grant money we got.
So if we're not mistaken, since we have more money on the water side, and are you concerned with the state going in possibly after the water side fund too, or savings?
I think that I feel comfortable as your finance manager since the beginning of this district. I feel comfortable with the 1.5 in our bank account without having any problems. I think when we start, if we do that reserve so high that we're getting that, I won't be around by the time that you guys have $4 to $8 million in your reserves, but you start hitting that and it's a red flag. And they're gonna start saying, hey, we can borrow from you. You guys, you're not doing anything, you're a rural community, and your customers are gonna feel like they're being raped. If we've got that kind of money in our reserves, then we're raping our customers. I mean, that's my personal feeling. Sorry, I kind of added to that.
Well, my concern was the state gave us a mandate that we had to have a separate fund, because if anything goes wrong with our systems now, they are not gonna grant us any money.
No, they did not. And Anthony read, I gave him the whole thing. And it's not a mandate that they are not gonna help us. They will help us. What they're trying to say is, again, in 30 years, Felix, we're not gonna, this $14 million project is gonna probably be twice that. We're never gonna have $28 million in the bank. But if we could do a matching fund, or if we could do like we've done with the USDA, where we've, got 500,000 or 500,000 in grant and then a loan at a 2% interest, we can afford that. But we're never gonna ever be able to pay that. And what they're saying is they want to make sure that we're not going below, like Anthony's shown us here. If we keep on this trail we're going, we're getting beneath, which that is what the state does not want us to do. So as good stewards of this board and this district, we've got to make sure that we always have an income, that we don't have, that we're going in the negative, because that's not being a good steward, and that's not showing the state that we took care of the money that they gave us. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is included now that we inherited Serco's infrastructure. Is that correct?
Right, it's also part of our assets.
So if we reduce it 25%, will we still have enough money if there's a major problem in Serco that we got, you know what I mean? Because we just took it over, right? Well, how long have we had it?
Well, since it was new, so,
So 10 years ago?
it was 11, I believe,
Yeah.
so almost 14 years ago.
Right. And when did they gift it to us? 11 years ago?
Yeah, as soon as it was finished, it was gifted to us. The day it was finished, it was signed over, because the contractor did not have a California contractor's license and did not have a California contractor's license until the day they signed it over to us. The whole time during the project with the res, they didn't have to, they were
didn't
like
have to
from
have one.
Alaska or whatever. But when they signed it over to us, they had a California contractor's license. But it was almost like that day they received it, and that was the day we inherited it. So,
Sandy, not really being a financial guru, this money's restricted. We can't move it around and play with it, can we? Like, if you getting too much money over here, could you move some of it over there?
We can't move it, but we could borrow, and we have done that in the past. We did the bridge loan, the water did the bridge loan for the wastewater in 2011, 2013. We did the bridge loan for it, and we paid back the water fund.
So that helped him.
Or vice versa, we paid back the wastewater fund when we borrowed from the wastewater for the water fund. And we paid it back, and should have borrowed it from the bank, like this time we borrowed. And, you know, thank God, it grants you 90 to 120 days getting paid from the state. So we paid a lot of interest with that, but the state did let us recoup all but like one payment, because when we closed out before we got the last. I think we paid about 3,500 in interest, where we could have been paying that they gave, the bank locked in, but the state paid probably about $20,000 in interest on the monies, because they paid us at 90 and 120 days out.
So is that your plan? If we have to do something, we need money and we don't have to go to a bank anymore. We can borrow the money from the water side and pay interest. In other words, we're paying ourselves. Is that the direction we're gonna start going to? So we can,
No, I think grants are key, because we're too small and we're never gonna have enough money to pay for.
no, I'm talking things like emergency, some type of emergency,
Well, that's why it's nice to have that reserve.
right?
You know, it's like.
That's what I'm concerned
I
with.
was talking with my finance manager today and telling Brianna, you know, trying to set Brianna up for the future and when I'm not here. So she kind of knows. I said, you know, I've always felt really comfortable with 250 to 300,000 in each fund, just as a reserve that's cash available. Because of the fact that, and it's only happened twice in 20 years, but you know, how crazy our politics are in this world in the last 10 years. When they don't pass a budget, the feds don't pass a budget, the DOD and the federal prison don't get paid. Well, we need to have at least 3 months in reserves just to pay our expenses. So I really feel comfortable just to pay our expenses that we should have, you know, $200,000 to $300,000 always set aside, in both of them for those kind of reserves, and then another $500,000 for anything that major happens, because we can pretty much, and if anything breaks, that you know, 250,000 to $500,000 can get us in the right direction, long enough to get us a loan or get us to a grant or whatever. But
Okay,
I'm
it's a
trying.
lot of choices to make. I mean, you know,
Well, it's like
one
this,
or another.
yeah.
I mean, the only thing we can hope for, the new people come in and start building, if we go to I just went blank again. The Alliance Committee, something happens that, you know, we're getting close, but like anything else, it's far, far away.
Well, no, but with John's help and McKean's, and I'm hoping to get that in before the 31st. Next week should be a little, well, Christmas, but should still be a little slower. Because there's a loan opportunity that we, like I talked about before, that HPUD could be a steward of monies that could help the grocery store, that could help the deli, that could help businesses come in. We basically would be the go-between. And if we could get that going, that would be like Sierra Alliance, you know, it would help. When we were with Sierra Alliance, we identified what it would take to grow our community. And it was having the facilities like a grocery store, you know, someplace to eat, you know, a laundromat. And just having those basic facilities, then your community can grow. But without that, we can't grow. But if we could somehow get somebody, you know, whether it's Lori Stokes or anybody from this community, you know, and I'm not sure with that loan money, if like Angel and the group that has the deli, because I know they've been struggling too, if they would be able to take advantage of that and be able to grow the deli and should, you know, but it would be something that at least if we could move this community. I don't understand when we've got, you know, 2,000 employees out on depot and another 500 over here and, you know, 1,500 people live here. We should be able to support something. I mean, you guys have all seen the lunch rush. you know, you don't wanna go anyplace at 11:30 because
If
it's,
you don't have enough time, you
Yeah.
know, too.
they don't have time and there's not enough facilities and then, you know, and
Nothing.
yeah. You know, I mean, I can remember we had Fed Up and then we had the little, you know, Oak's daughter did the beautiful little diner inside the grocery store for a while. And we had the bowling alley forever. And now we don't have,
Anything.
well said. So anyhow, kind of got off with,
Yeah.
thank you for listening. I like to.
So, any further discussion? That was a whole lot, okay. Well, number 13 right now, right?
Yes, no, we're on 12.
Oh, we're on 12. Oh,
So 12 is just the, Director Flores and Director Reed had asked for the 5-year on the verbiage on the Zoom, so
Mhm.
I did not change anything on either one of those policies, we just made it a put 5. And I'm sorry I didn't do these in color, but,
Well, on 3090.5 is where you added the 5 years.
I added it to both policies.
Okay, I didn't find it in the other policy, so I just might have missed it.
So, and I don't have my red copy to tell you right off the bat. And Friday morning, I wasn't doing well when I put the board packets together, so there's that. I'm upside down and backwards here. I'm not telling anybody that. That'd be easier for me to go. Yeah. So, Aaron, you said you saw it on 3090, but you didn't see it on the other one or? vice
Right.
versa?
No, you're right. 3090.5 is where you had the 5 years. There's a small typo there, but you'll see it. And then, but not on the 5060.
Yeah, because I put it big. So we wouldn't miss it.
So in the 5060.1, it has the thing about, just keeping the minutes and duty of keeping the minutes.
They actually said originally. Thought I put it in big letters too for us.
Oh, 5060.1.2, the end of sentence 3.
Yes, I was saying it was big. I tried to make it big and red so we would see the changes. So that's the only 2 things I added to the policies. Otherwise, they're what you guys had approved. So both of those policies address the fact that have minutes in it, so I figured they both needed to be brought to the board back for you guys' approval with the changes.
Awesome.
comments? Anybody want to say yay or nay, or they like it, or
I'm good.
you good?
Good.
Good. Need a motion to accept with the changes that were stated?
A motion to accept the changes on both policy 3090 and 5060
I second.
with only, one change, and that is, the 3090.5 have the S be on the word year instead of on the word 5.
Easy enough, thank you.
Motion has been made by Mrs. Reed and seconded by Mr. Harris with the changes. All in favor?
Aye.
4 ayes, no noes, no abstentions, and 1 person absent. Okay, Policy 1080 Public Records Act. And SB 272, this policy is brought to the board to review, and make possible changes or actions.
I'm not sure what Director Sisseris exactly wanted. He said he wanted to look at SB 272. And he didn't realize that we already had policy 1080, which the board adopted in June 8th of 2021. So I didn't know if we needed to make changes to that one. I did put copies of SB 272 in your board packet. And then he had suggested that he liked how Bear Valley CSD had done their public records information. And so I included that, and I was hoping that he would be here tonight to expand on that. Again, it's just for review. I don't know if there's something that you guys want to change for 1080, or just
Well,
review and.
one of the things I was looking up and saw is that for the California Public Records is that for them, whether it's a board member or not, they still have to pay. And that maybe we could specify that in our handbook policy. Also, I don't know if I was looking at an older date from what I looked up, but I think the state charges less than what we do.
You know, we've had that fee probably for 15 years, Aaron, and when we got the new copier out of the plant, and it's never been changed.
Okay.
I don't know, I mean, paper is more expensive, but I think copier per se is less expensive. So I don't know if it balances out or if there's a dollar amount or a change that you want to change. The thing that I would probably say is delete fax at $1 per page, because we don't fax anymore, we scan.
Okay.
So that would be the thing I would suggest to delete out of there, is that there is no fax.
And do we even have the option of doing color copies?
We do.
No. Okay.
And that doesn't specify one-sided or two-sided, so if you wanted to, and you're more than welcome to it. That packet, if we did two-sided, it's just 35 cents per page, not per side.
Okay.
And maybe that should be specified in here too. What does it say per page?
Yeah,
So I guess
it just
we're
says
okay.
And if we're not available, the Family Resource Center is.
Uh-huh.
I just want to throw that out there.
We don't have any of those reserves.
Well, I kind of don't know if we should. This is for really discussion only then,
Yeah.
since we don't understand what his focus is.
Mhm.
Well, I can make that change of deleting out the fax. And then bringing it back next month for you guys' approval of that, and if there's something you want to change. But this was Swiss's last board meeting, so I have no idea. You know, like I said, he didn't think we had a Public Records Act policy, which that's what I put in front. But he was worried about SB 272, and I wasn't sure where he was going, because he said, you know, like I said, he liked how Bear Valley's website was, so I pulled that right off, so that we could use that. I put as much information as he gave me in the packet.
Well, do we want to table this and have it brought back at the next board meeting
Sounds good.
to look at it again?
Okay.
Ms. Reed? Take it and bring it back. Bring it back.
So I wanted to thank Director Sisseris tonight for his 4 years with the service and give him a plaque, which I'll have to catch up with him on that. There is no Sierra Alliance meeting this month. I'm really excited. I met with Mitchell from Plymouth Sierra Rural Electric, and he went to school here and lived in our neighborhood. And he's gonna be taking over a lot of stuff for Scott from Plymouth Sierra Electric. And they are willing, I showed him all the 16-foot boards and all the posts, and I even have that I bought five big old boxes of deck nails. And he's thinking he's gonna put it on the list when they're kind of in between projects between now and like April. So if it's another sunny day like today, he's thinking that his crew of 6 or 7 could come out and maybe knock out our fence before spring. So I'm very excited about that. There was somebody in the community that was worried about the dead trees or the topping of the trees. He said that he would look into possibly trimming the trees for us, or what they needed done with that. But he said, you know, he's the one that kind of schedules projects ahead of time. So when there's down days or whatever, the guys aren't just standing around, that they have a project to do. So this would be a day that they could do that. So it sounds like, and that way, Royce and his staff could work on rehabbing the sprinklers, because we've done that a couple of times, but unfortunately have gotten broken from people running them over. But I would be bringing back to the board a possible chairs or seats to replace out there. And then what our plaques want to say, because we were talking about making it a memorial walk. And you know, we've lost several board members. Penny Hasenplug, Max Ortega, I think Anita Anderson, Ray Flowers, most recent. So we have a big list of directors that have been on our board throughout the last 20 years. And then for our GMs and our heads would be Don Armstrong, who started this, and Pat Williams. So, you know, kind of draft up something and have that, so that one of the chairs would have that plaque on it, or have a plaque on it, and then have a couple resting spots for people when they're walking, could stop and rest. And then once Royce and staff gets we rehab the sprinklers again, then I don't know, we'll take some help, but Barbara and I are looking at planting plants out there. And then I got a wild hair thinking, if it was board's approval, that it'd be really nice to put like a planter underneath our sign out here. Not that we need any more work, but if I could, you know, possibly put some brick or some stones with some just flowers in it, or bulbs, it would kind of be nice.
Maybe we should volunteer Leon.
Jenny, didn't we at one time put in a grant for, to do a summer landscaping or desert landscaping at one
Well,
time?
that's what's still left on the books in the park. So once
Okay.
we get the fence up, and I think there's like $15,000 that we have to landscape. But again, the reason we weren't gonna put Greenway back in it is because the parks fund, we have no income and we can't borrow. And so buying a lawnmower or having staff mow and take care of it, we really don't have funds to do that. Probably don't have funds to keep watering plants, but you know, I guess that'll be office money, office bill.
So I thought that was the reason we were gonna go to a desert landscaping. We were gonna stick with rocks and, you know,
Well, that's what we're kind of desert landscaping around here, and that's what we're kind of thinking on there. It's set out. Melissa from Every Blooming Thing
Yeah.
had designed it just like
Right.
she designed this, but it's desert plants, which still take water to get them up and started. And then, you know, usually the spring, they wouldn't be something that we'd have to water on a daily basis, but, you know, even our trees around here, I've noticed it took a little bit more water back and forth depending on how much rain we got. So, anyway, and we're always looking for volunteer fire department people. Mike's been doing most of the calls himself and he's doing a great job. Sherry Kessler will be with us next January, or this January, and we'll be replacing Director Switzerless. with this being his last meeting. And I just wanted to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and be safe.
Same to you. Thank you.
Oh, and Miss Erin, I had one more. You got yours in the mail?
Oh,
Oh, I got the thing. So you got
for
your
all the
beautiful.
training, awesome,
Exactly.
oh, nice.
So that.
I like it, I was actually disappointed I didn't get the email. I was. I didn't get any, everything of this.
This is better. This is better.
It is better, I love it.
So, yeah, that's all I've got.
All right. Number 15, director's updates.
Yeah, I have one, so. So January is gonna be my last board meeting. I have the job starting in Tracy on the 13th. Or 14th of, I get to travel on the 13th of January. So you'll probably see me around in February though, because that's gonna be the last month in the house and get everything moved and closed down. But January will be my last one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My theory, hotter you.
What?
I said, you think it gets cold, it's there in the summer? You're looking at 100 almost every day.
I know, I was wondering
And
if
higher.
I think I'm gonna have to buy a new car. It didn't make it through this summer, so. I don't know what's gonna happen there.
Did you get a chance to do another?
I did not, but I will. Within the appropriate time period, yeah.
So once Erin submits, we've got 60 days to replace her, so we'll be putting an ad out and, applications, and then the board will be able to make the decision, the appointment.
I really hate hearing that, but for a lot of reasons. Okay, if there's anything else as far as directors, updates, we will adjourn our meeting at 7, 12, or 13 there.
You feel like we can?
I didn't. Does Harris get one?
January.
No, I did one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Are you gonna turn yours in?
Well, she's finding it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let me get this.
Oh,
So I give this to who?
that, goes to Barbara. It goes to where all the,
January 21st.
Well, good, huh?
Oh, 28.
Roll. She said, Brent, I didn't hear.
yeah.
So what base you going to? Army base? There's one down there. Army.
Defense Logistics Agency base.
Oh, so it's administrative type building, not Army base.
No, no, it's base. It's, we took over a base. I don't remember what the name was.
Oh.
It's in Tracy.
Right.
Tracy,
My kid worked there after
California.
the Braxton and at Miranda, I forgot the name of it, but it's an Army base. They do logistics, the same thing as you guys,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Nice area. I mean, you're right close to Yosemite and stuff.
I can't afford to live in Tracy. I gotta like live in Stockton or Lodi. I know, that's what everybody's telling me. Don't live in Stockton.
Oh, that's bad. Huh?
You need to buy yourself a gun.
You gotta go.
Find